preparing our recording. I'm just going to go onto my page as well and make sure that I share it. Let me just check. Yep, we're live on the Speedweek page, which is good news. So if you want to share that to your racing page as well, let's go live. Share that now. I'm just going to go into my page. You'll need to turn your So if you want to share that to your racing, you need to turn your audio down page on your as well, or close the Facebook link off, Don. That's the way to do it as well. All right, I think we're good to go. Sharing it on mine as well, which is good news. So where are we? It is 4:12 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Hello to Harrison Fitzner, Lukey McCutcheon, Philly Walters, Hutchins Motorsport T7 is watching. That's kind of creepy because I'm talking to them at the same time. Donna and Tim, happy Christmas, Merry New Year. It's getting to be that time. What are you doing today apart from talking to me?
I've just finished work literally 5 minutes ago. So, yeah.
What do you actually do, Tim? I'm curious.
So I'm a co-owner of a company that does concrete repairs, waterproofing, grouting, pretty much anything to do with concrete. And then we own a shop called Build Tech, which supplies the products for that. So yeah, one counteracts the other. One's a contracting company and one's a supply company.
And where is home?
So I'm Sassafras, or basically Devonport. Yeah.
Yep. I just like hearing you say Sassafras.
Latrobe Speedway is between Devonport and my place in the middle, basically.
Yeah, cool. And so what about you, Donna? Where's home for you and what do you do?
Latrobe. So I work for GBE, who obviously sponsors Tim. So yeah, I work in the office down in Zeehan, which is down the west coast of Tasmania. So probably 2 hours, 20 minutes from my home, which is in Latrobe. So yeah, I'm pretty busy working down there.
I'm a big advocate for Tasmania. I know that the Northern Territory was the group that came out and said you'll never know if you never go. But I feel the same way about Tassie. The southern hospitality that I have when I go down there is huge. The food, the coffee, the slower lifestyle, the slow internet, all that sort of stuff. It's really old world, and I say that with the utmost respect.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I actually had something funny happen to me yesterday because, like, you say you know everyone in Tassie, or everyone knows this. And I had a lady come up to me yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I was up in Byron Bay, and I was talking to a guy that knows you." And I'm like, "Byron Bay?" And she's like, "Yeah." She said he's something to do with race cars, and he said, who did you know in Tassie, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, long story short, it was Colin Smith.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so she'd run into him up there, and it was just like, yeah, Tassie is a small place. You sort of, know people know you from around here and there. And yeah, but to think that they just got talking to some random in Byron Bay, and a girl called Donna, she's got boxer dogs and she's into car racing. Hello, that's me.
Some rando. I love it. Yeah. Tasmania has, hello to Parker Scott. Now, Parker is tuned in. He must be getting pumped too because he's about to make his Speedweek debut as a pro contract star. So a rich little part of the world is Mount Gambier in terms of Speedway history. And Speedway history is phenomenal in Tassie. And Tim, the really cool part is Jock in particular has made Tasmania a major focal point. In his dominance in the last 2 or 3 years has really put Tasmania on the map.
Yeah, I think I guess I show my age, but I look back to Dorky and Murky, and I think Jock, social media has made Jock the face of Tasmania, but Robin Dawkins, Tony Smith, Phil Coates are the heartbeat of it. It's just Jock's now on the social media side of it. But me personally, Murky put it on the map. Murky's the one that put them 2 Australia ones on his car and said, he might say he's Victorian. I was
just going to say that. I was just going to bring that up, Hutchie.
We're still claiming.
Let's say as a kid, I was racing the Tasmanian David Murcott, not the Victorian David Murcott. So
it's funny you say that because when we had that State of Origin event at Parramatta,
he was out.
It was like Oh, what do we do, Murky? What do we do? And he goes, my driver's license says Victoria. That was his saying. But we
That,
all know. So, you know, he
that,
grew up racing as a teenager there, right, with his dad.
yeah, well, that just proves Sally rules the roost because David was too scared not to say
Wow. You can
it.
get away with that.
Yeah, I'll
That's
get away with
okay.
it. Yeah, yeah.
But you're right. I mean, when I say that Jock is the face of it, he's not the current Australian champion. That's Lockie McHugh, but his dominance in big time racing in the last 2 years in particular has really. And you got Tate Frost, who's doing an epic job racing on the Big Island as well. There's so many. You know, we've got young Ethan Wiley coming as well to run over with you guys. Young Chad Gardner is over as well. So we've got 3 or 4 Tassie drivers racing with us during Speed Week next week, which I'm really excited about. But you're right, the history of Tassie in sedans and sprint cars in particular is huge.
Oh, it's look, I don't know, ex-football coach. I'm big on percentages and things like that. And when you look at, population versus the amount of cars that go to the mainland, and I look back at Kevin Purton, 2-time Australian Superstan, Jared Harper, Caney came from here. It's I know we're not talking sedans, but as a state,
same.
I think the Redpass won 3 Formula 500 Australian titles.
Dylan Beveridge
has won 2. To me, exactly what you said earlier. We're a locked in, quiet little state, but those that are here have got the mongrel in them that bad that the passion in of racing the same people week in week out is a bit like Murky and I were as kids. I only went to work so I could beat Murky and get more money and try and build a better car than he had, and that it's still as passionate today. And they had their Christmas race here 2 weeks ago, and the place was just packed full of people. So the passion hasn't died, and and the results come from that. But you go back through footy, the kids motocross, all that sort of thing. Tassie's always, I won't say got a big pool of great sportsmen, but those that are great are really great. Yeah.
It would be remiss of us when we're talking about Tassie not to mention Mozzy. It's been something that's hit everybody very hard, and I know that he's such a valuable and vital part of Australian speedway folklore and culture and fabric. And so I think it would be remiss of us not to just mention at this time of the year in particular. Just look up and look around at your friends. And sometimes the symptoms are more obvious than we realize. Sometimes someone isn't the usual bubbly, sparkly self, and my memories of Moz are Melbourne Demons.
Yeah, definitely.
Like just drove me nuts anytime that they beat the Eagles. But I used to chase him around with a can of tire spray when he was on World Series with us because his car always looked a little rough.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, you're not going out on track before I shine up your tires. It must have really, really hurt Tasmanian Speedway, the family down there, losing him just recently.
Oh, I think we're in a sport way, as we all know, that the highs are high, but I don't care whether it's a junior driver or a push bike rider or whatever. When you're on a downer with especially your sport, I'll talk about our sport side of it, and I've been there, you can't see a way out sometimes. And, people's little comments of, oh, geez, you crash a lot or whatever, that to someone that's striving to be better than they are is just a kick in the guts. And I think classic example that it's not the highs that we all want to pat on the back. It's when we're in our lows that we actually need people to support us and tell us that it's okay and we can do better and things will change, because unfortunately we've got 1,000 mates when we're going good, and we haven't got anyone when we're not. And I don't think you'll find a more brutal sport, not only mentally but financially, and the amount of people that it takes to do what we do. Moz is unique in the way that he did it from Smithton. He travelled not only the state but Australia, and I think it's pretty open knowledge that he put his heart and soul in it, everything he had at times to do it. And I think it's a reality check that us younger, and I'm going to use the word privileged people that get to drive these cars, have got more going on in the background than people realise. And it's the race car part is not fun, not always fun. Everyone says, oh, you get to race a sprint car for a living, that or for fun. It's not always fun. as you just saw, we had one night in the last 8 years that was fun. So
Yeah. Donna, I've noticed a lot in the last few months. Maybe it's because I'm looking for it. I see signs all the time in the back. Please treat our staff with kindness. I'm seeing it more and more, and I think, really? Like, do we have to remind? Is that what we've come to, where we have to remind people to be kind? And to the point where I just did it on our Speedweek Facebook page because the people at Tolma are a great example. So the Rowettes are under the gun huge to get that venue ready for Friday. As a speedway, as a track, it is going to be mind-bendingly good. Are they 100% ready? No. But if we all roll in there with that in mind and go, wow, look what they've achieved, not look what they haven't done, that's the key to what we're doing here, Donna. And I think it makes me a little bit concerned that the society's become very critical, like very judgmental and very reactive. I really hope that people understand what you guys put in, what our team puts in, what the speedways put in. You can't control the weather, can't control a lot of the logistical things that happen as well. So unfortunately, the world's got to be a really reactive place, Donna.
Oh, certainly has. And I guess I'm probably a bit more hot-headed and vocal than Tim. But I find it hard to, like, it is really hard what we do, and a lot of people don't realise how we do it. And it's our choice.
Yep.
But it's hard to when, as Tim said, people can be critical. Oh, you didn't do very good, or you didn't do this, you didn't do that, or, oh, geez, you aren't making an A main and stuff like that. And it's just like I've sort of in the last, probably this season more than anything, I've really broken down the times because it does. I can see how much it gets to Tim. So what I'll do is I'll break down the times and say, okay, you timed 20th. But if we were 0.3 of a second more, you would have been in 8th. So It's like trying to find the highs because it's like, as I said, people, the armchair racers, I probably call them, can be very critical. And, like I said to Tim too the other week when he won, I said, do you realise those two guys on the podium either side of you probably weren't even born when you started your racing career? And he thought I was having a dig at him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not having a dig. I'm saying you want to be proud of what you're achieving at 55. So, but it is, you're right. People do sort of pick, and it's been able to switch off and, as you say, work on the positives and the highs. And like today, we only took a phone call today from Mark Lyons. And
good man.
Scott Endel wasn't going over to Murray Bridge on Boxing Day. So Mark approached us and said, if you guys need a hand, I'm there.
Oh, cool.
And he rang today because he felt so bad because he said, are you guys okay for a hand? And we're like, yeah, we'll be right. Why? He's like, I'd rather stay at Tolma and, they're just to get everything. And we're like, no, stay there. Stay. That's where you need to be.
But I think Wade Tolma will be fine because respect is earned. And I think they've earned the respect of everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at the place is phenomenal. It's not the track, it's not the fence, not the lights, not the PAs, and all that stuff. It's just some of the spectator infrastructure they're concerned about. So we just want to make sure that everyone understands when they walk in there that they've got a major event on the 29th of January as well, the Wednesday of the Aussie title as well. Leading into that, so everyone's going to come from the Classic to Portland on the Tuesday, and then move on to Tolma from there, and then go to Murray Bridge. So it's a lot of big racing coming up for them. And the place, when you walk in there, you just go, wow, like it is banked like that, Timmy. I mean, it's like, wow, you're going to love it, man.
I think it'll be like the first night at a strip club, Wade. You don't even notice the posters and the signs around the building. All you're worried about is what's on stage.
What a great way to put it, Tim. I might welcome everybody in the PA. Ladies and gentlemen, as you walk in here to the strip club, don't look too much at the pole, but look how beautiful the dancers are.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah.
What a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of times the win recently at Borderline Speedway, Mount Gambier. Tough little place. The name Moncrief just popped up as well. There's another name that I sort of placed back in the annals. What was it like to finally get that big win at the SRA round at Borderline Speedway Mount Gambier, Timmy?
Oh, look, we've won 2 rounds, but both at country tracks. And to me, I have this little thing called the Big Three: Avalon, Warrnambool, Mount. They're the three that, when I was racing back home, we just wanted to get to those 3 tracks. And it's funny, Borderline's always been my favourite track, anywhere, which is why we travel to Murray Bridge, because they're very similar.
Yep.
So to get one at what I call the Big Three, and I know, and this is not disrespectful to anyone else, but I know Jamie and James and them, Brock wasn't there, but for us, and you talk about what do we aim to get each weekend, we aim to be the best of the weekend races, which is what that night we come away as the best of what I would say are the weekend races. Every duck fell into a row. It was the old school format. It was one of those nights that you just can't believe happens, and it happened, and gives every 55-year-old man hope that there's there's a place out there for them. But I don't know. And I've said to Donna post the race, that's only 10% of the package. For what Donna goes through, and Sean and GBE, and go back through history of what my family go through at home and what they let me do, and just my brother Shane had helped me years ago, and Anthony Thompson and Jeff Gillum and all those guys. It was like tick the box for everyone, not just me, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm just pissed off I missed the hug.
You probably would have got more than the hug if you were there, I'll tell you.
You scared that night at the Classic. You scared the shit out of me. I had no idea what was going on, and you came at me literally like a centre half back, like running through someone in the centre line. So, Donna, what was it like for you?
I actually, obviously I always pushed him out in the track with the mule, and then I sort of come in, and half the time I'll watch the feature on my phone on Race Monitor in the truck, because I don't like
really
watching. Yeah, and I get really nervous. And I actually was walking through the pits, and Emma Hutchison Bear, who helps us out a lot sponsorship wise with EB Graphics, she looked at me and she said, "Isn't a feature about to start?" And I went, "Yeah." She said, "Where are you guys out of?" And I said, 2. She goes, "No wonder you're wandering through the pits." And she dragged me up, because they had a box there. So she dragged me up there. So I was lucky enough to watch it with her and Barry, who, they've been great supporters of us and great friends over the years. So it was really good. And and then I guess what made it for me is all I wanted to do after the race was get to Tim.
Yeah.
And, it was coming down off the bank, how many people were grabbing me and giving me a cuddle and a hug. And it was really good to see how many people were really happy for us. So, and especially, I guess, the 2 people that stick out in my mind was Darren Hickman. Yep. He was so wrapped for us. And he even showed me a text message on his phone the other week he got from a mate saying, "You look more happy that they beat yous than yous actually win." And he said, "Well, if anyone was going to get it, I wanted it to be them." And obviously Dave Murcott, he was stoked for us. So it was really good, really good.
There's probably similarities in Tim and also another guy that it's a bit like when Jacob Allen wins an outlaw race. Everyone just goes, wow, the sport wins when Jacob Allen wins, because of that. He's so loved. Glenn Sutherland is exactly the same. Glenn
20, if there is a Speedway god, please let that bloke win a race. I will be the first guy to hug him. Yeah. Yeah,
we're so wrapped for him and his team at the moment. How well
they're on fire, aren't they?
They're going really well. They've just gelled, and they were so happy for us as well. And and what stuck in my mind too was Tim had mentioned to me that I think they run 2nd or 3rd at Avalon a few weeks prior. And we were watching the race separately, and he said to me, "Oh, you should have seen Glen 20's crew. Oh, that's stoked and everything." And I said, "Oh, that's awesome." And then for us to get the win, I definitely know what they were feeling. It was great.
Take me through how on earth this happens for you every week, because this is a massive logistical, and for Americans to really understand where Tasmania is to begin with, because the car is based in Melbourne near the airport, right? At GBE?
Yeah. No, just at a factory in Derrimut.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So how does this all work? When does your week start? Let's take where we're at right now. Where is the car right now?
So the car's in Melbourne at the moment. So we fly out Christmas night. We'll drive to Bordertown, so we'll get there at 1 or 2 in the morning. Sleep obviously till they kick us out of the hotel. Then we'll drive into Murray Bridge that morning. Then we'll just, like everyone else, trek our way back. But so most weeks we leave work at 5-ish, 5:30, catch the last flight out of Launceston, which is never on time.
And sort of
Jetstar's.
Yep.
I think we've had one flight on time this whole year. So like that's how hard that gets. So we usually get to Melbourne 11, 12 o'clock at night.
And generally too, for me, I'm at work down the West Coast.
Oh, right.
So I've got like 2 hours and 20 minutes to get home. And most of the time I get 15 minutes at home. And then Tim's picking me up to go to the airport.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's sort of how my Fridays start.
Yeah. Then we get up Saturday morning, obviously finish the car from the week before. If it's not done, load up, go to the racetrack. We've got this pack that we wash after the races every night. That's just the deal we have where we don't even question each other on that. So 3 or 4 in the morning, we'll pull up at a car wash at Derryman, wash the car, go back around to the factory, jump into bed till usually 7:30, 8 o'clock, somewhere around there. We'll get up. And then I've got from 8 o'clock till the last flight on Sunday night, which is generally 8:30, 9 o'clock, to get everything done I can do to the car. So
we've actually got a pretty good routine. And generally most Sundays we probably don't speak 5 words to each other because we're all just going through our routine and getting everything done before we have to pack up and head to the plane. Normally Tim's words to me, okay, so what time do I have to pack up?
Yeah. Set the alarm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hence, if we have a big crash, we're in trouble, like if we've got to do major repairs. But generally each week we've got a routine now where if we're not quite finished Sunday night, I'll finish it Friday night or Saturday morning and pack up and go again.
So Andrew Rowett has got a really cool thing going. Him and Snow are cousins. A lot of people think they're brothers. Andrew has a really cool thing where there's a lot of factories and local businesses in Tolma in Bordertown that have offered their workshops and their shower facilities and be able to service the cars and everything for all the teams traveling through from night 1 and night 2. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that, Tim, but I'll flick you Andrew's number later. They've literally got a huge range of local businesses saying, bring your trucks in. Here's our wash facilities. You can service the car. You can do all that sort of stuff. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but I'll pass that information for you when you finish Murray Bridge.
We've actually got the prime hospitality in Bordertown at Jake Tranner's.
Oh, wow.
Jason's not there.
Yeah, no, Jason. Not that we know Jason will be there. Not that we mind.
Stay away from the red wine. I think that's pretty well legendary. So you take Speedweek out for you guys then and just treat it as a normal thing. You leave Friday, you get Friday night, you get home Sunday night, and you race, service the car as best you can. So because you can't just wander into the shop like everybody else during the week. You can't go, oh shit, I didn't grease the rear end. We need to make sure we get the new wings bolted together, whatever. Everything is left on the mainland.
Yeah. So normally about once a month I'll take the Monday off or the Friday off work so I can have that, that extra day to service and strip everything more than I normally would. But we don't skimp. I've never skimped on maintenance. I think history will show that our cars generally finish like we just don't. I don't skimp on that side of it. But if I've got to do an all-nighter, I'll do an all-nighter. That's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been lots of those. So
yeah.
And then 9 out of 10 times as well, we've both got work on the Monday, or I might get home at midnight, then I've got to be up at 4 to head back down the West Coast for work the next day. So, it's pretty...
So I think you can see why we get frustrated when we roll up at the races and someone hasn't pulled their car out from the week before and washed, and I just shake my head and say, how can you expect to get better results?
Yeah.
It baffles me what some people invest in the sport, but the lack of effort they put into it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, not everybody is geared up to be as determined and as committed and regimented with their time management and all those sort of things. And I certainly understand that you guys need that system. You've got a geographical oddity in that you have to fly over a passage of water, which is fairly substantial. You never get to ride on the ferry and do it that way. Tasmanian Sprintcar Racing has some really solid competitors down there, some great racetracks. And I remember when we took World Series Sprint Cars down there, it was a really exciting time for us. We're like, World Series has gone international. You know, like we've gone into international waters, you know, and there were some really phenomenal experiences for Mandy and myself and our team to travel over there and do that. And all I can do is say that if you get a chance, go down to Tassie. It's a really special place, and you'll love the racing culture is so fierce there. Everyone is so proud. You have, you know, I remember even when we went to Hobart, the view outside the racetrack, you know, just the big mountain up there and the Derwent River right near there, and it's just like, wow, it's just kind of really different, and I love that. Why is there a focus on you for the mainland? It's a big challenge. You could stay home and just run whenever you do. Um, it's a massive challenge. It must be times when you go, holy cow, is this worth it?
Oh, definitely. I'll make no secret, we come over to finish our career 8 years ago and haven't made it back home. But it's one of those things. I don't know. I like to try and overachieve, and there's that rabbit's always out there on the ground trying to chase the rabbit. And I don't know. I've always been a believer in what you get to do, not what you've got to do. And I get the privilege of going racing, and I get the privilege to race the race car. If that's what I've got to do to do that, then so be it. And I don't know, a bit like the other night, as excited as you get about winning a race, it would be more exciting if XYZ was there, or it was this race or whatever. So to me, it's always been that rabbit, you know, of chasing the hare, trying to get better, trying to do bigger races, better races, more races, better people, trying to improve the equipment, trying to improve myself as a driver. And so it was always that, I don't know, I guess I always had that respect for the privilege of trying to, A, to race the cars, but B, focus on what I get to do, not what I've got to do. And if you ever get to the point where you're worried about what you got to do to get to that point, then you'll give up. Or, you know, I've had some great friends that have been paid crew chiefs and paid drivers or whatever, that have got so focused on what they've got to do, they've forgot about what they get to do. So they're better off out of the sport. They're better off not in it, and go find something else that makes your glass half full, not half empty. Mine's still half full at the minute, and when it gets half empty, I'll bail out.
Donna, how differently do you have to prepare for Brandt Sprintcar Speedweek? And I want to send a shout out to the folks at Brandt who had no real involvement, you know, on a significant level before they got involved with DKM Motorsport with the Chase Randall team, and then sign on as our national exposure, you know, Sprintcar Speedweek sponsor. So we're very excited for people to have faith in what we're doing. How do you approach this week differently to what you do when you fly in, fly out weekly?
I guess like there's a lot of planning goes in prior to it, obviously with logistics and stuff like that. So I try and make sure we're organised. Also, like I look ahead as, you know, as far as, because we can't cart a lot in our truck, you know, if we need methanol, if we need this, just be planning ahead so everything sort of falls into place. Because like obviously with the sport we do, you never know when things can turn sideways. So yeah, just trying to prepare, like even, you know, because we're going to be on the road a lot, even though the truck didn't need a service, I sort of give Tim a bit of a nudge on, let's just get it in for a look over, which is probably killing me for now because it cost a bit, but anyway, you do those things. Yeah, just little things the extra things that you've got to think of. And obviously too, you know, in the lead up to Christmas with things being busy, I just sort of like to tick all the boxes before we get to this week. So
preparation is massive on any level for you guys.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And too, like gone are the days where you can, you know, book an airfare a couple of weeks prior. Tim and I sit down at the start of the season, we wait for all the calendars to come out, and then we'll sit down and pick which races he's going to do or not going to do. And then I make sure I've got everything booked right from the get-go. So we're booked all the way through. So sometimes we go, oh, I don't think I'll do that. I was just like, oh, I've got it booked and all that. And can't we change this? And but it's a lot of money these days, the logistics side of it. So, and even though, you know, we're lucky to have where we are in Derrimut, it's one of those things. If you were trying to get over and back on the boat all the time, you'd never do it because it's just so expensive. So yeah, it's just being organised is the key for us.
I had I interviewed Luke Dillon, who's also in really good form and is still extremely fast. And Luke calls himself one of the older guys now, and it's kind of weird to think of him, like that. But he said, back when I started off, I had to deal with Max and Brooke, every week. And he said, now I've got Jock and Lockie and J-Mac and all these young badasses that I have to run against. I said, what do you prefer? He said, Max and Brooke. The eras are very different, yet the competitiveness is still there. And Tim, you've been across the sport for 20 plus years as a racer. How do you see it now in terms of its competition?
Oh, look, so I think I'm 30 odd years now, 30 years. But it's to me, the evolution of the car. The cars look the same for the odd guy on the bank, and I think Max and Gary and then we'll go back to Rushy and the steel brakes, the steel motors, and then I'll never forget the day I walked for the first time into Robin Dawkins' shed, and he had 4 Schnees lined up with Wes Mars, and Mouse was actually over working on them. And the cars today, which is why people my age can still drive them, is there's so much. The shocks are better, the wheels are better, the wings are better, the motors are more powerful. They're actually easier to drive. A car that weighed nearly 2,000 pounds and couldn't stop for the life of you.
Yep.
And I think the biggest innovation in racing has been the tear-off. Is we couldn't see through 20 tear-offs back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, you can stick 40 on. So, but the racing in the country, I think it's an evolution of, I'll say financials, if you want to call it that. But, I'll talk about Murky and I. Back in my day, we saved every cent of our wage. By the time we had good enough equipment, we were too old. Like we were already 30 odd when we got our good equipment, where us as parents now are giving our kids that opportunity, 16, 17, 18. So are they more talented now? Probably not, but they're getting the equipment earlier. And if Murky had at 16 what some of these guys have got now, then Murky would have won 10 Australian times. So, I think it's more the evolution of what the parents are prepared to give their kids now than the parents saving the money to race themselves. And I'm the first to admit it. My equipment in the last 5 years is as good as anyone, but the 25 years prior to that, we went to the mainland for 8 years ago with one motor, one car, one wing, pro shocks, whatever. We didn't have the equipment to run where we had to. So when I see Jock and them now, like I know Jock's probably on his 20th new motor, at 23. Which is great. Good on them. I just think it's fantastic that parents are actually doing this for their kids. And I just, as I say, for me personally, I hope the kids appreciate what they've got and what the foundation that the Murkies and them have got. Because back in the day, I'd say Brooke and Gary Brazier were probably the only 2 kids that had the equipment that these kids have got now compared to the older generation. So Farring was probably in the background a bit, but there wasn't many young kids under 25 that had good equipment back in the day, where now every 16-year-old kid's got, they'd given them the best equipment. But I don't think you'll see anyone more excited than me for these kids, because if we're ever going to get professional where they get paid, we need that to happen. So I hope one day my boy can earn a living out of it. And the only way that's going to happen is for us to provide the stepping stone for them to get there. So keep doing it. Let the kids race them. Yeah, the more they race them, the better. Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool that Murky's helping Peter Dukas, which is great, because Murky's experience, as much as these racecraft and stuff, will really help Peter, I think, in this high pressure speed week environment in particular. You got Jai Corbett, he's got he was mentored by Andrew Shirley, quite early, and still has guys from that team that work across with him in this deal. And Jai's a good example of a kid that's got some world-class equipment, like the truck and the car and the whole bit. And Tate Frost is the same. And you throw in these young kids that have the youth on their side. Rusty Hickman, a good example to mention the Hickmans. Rusty's having a hell of a start to the season.
He's going awesome.
He wasn't even going to race 410s. And I said to his dad, I said, we're kind of doing Speed Week, and I'd love to have that enthusiasm. And Papa Daz, he always has that, we ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. That's what he always says. And Rusty's changed his attitude a lot. He's very laid back this year. He's like, whatever happens, I'm just going to have fun. And it's really reflecting in his race wins. Jordan Charge has got a great opportunity with the Downing brothers. Mercury, of course, that was proven in Adelaide by Kerry Madsen. That thing can run like the big dogs. Parker Scott's got great equipment with his dad coming in this as well. I really like guys like Brendan Quinn too, right? So we deliberately brought Brendan onto the tour as well. He
Yeah,
represents a budget for us that we need to keep in mind. You just talked about it just
yeah,
then, guys, about the
Yeah.
rising cost of it. Brendan keeps us in the zone of where he needs to be every time to not win a race, but make sure he can keep going with what he's doing. And we need to be mindful of all those levels of the budget, guys.
yeah. But they're also, I don't think you've mentioned one person that's not a great person in all that too.
Funny
From
that.
Hickmans to Corbett's to Scott's to Quinny, like Dukas has grown up with Mick and I, and Pete's come through the ranks. They're just great people and a
Yeah.
great sport, and none of them. And as much as Jock's achieved, he still doesn't get around with his head up his ass. And Lockie's the
Yeah.
same. It's like they're just a great bunch of people doing something
Yep.
that we all love, and as long as no one loses sight of that, the sport will be fine.
I think, and too, I love that the Rowitts have given Marcus a great opportunity to sort of extend, what he's doing as
Yeah.
well. And when I look at, we just bit of a sneak peek on this. We just had our posters sort of put together for what we're doing shortly, and the autograph posters look really, really, really cool. And it's funny because Garrett Williamson walked into our TV
Oh,
Oh,
show.
yeah, they look
Yeah.
awesome.
So Garrett walked into our TV shoot the other day at Domain Ramsey's, and his mouth just fell open because he had all these TV cameras everywhere and everything set up. And I don't think he was expecting the level of what we're trying to do with that stuff this year. So we need to reward these teams because they put so much energy into what we did for those 2 days. Like we stood the guys out on a cliff at Warrnambool near the go-kart track, and we flew FPV drones around them. And if we don't keep up with that stuff, your corporate partners, apart from being friends, you'll find GBE will find no reason to keep investing in the sport.
No, and I say this with respect, but that shows how far backwards we've gone when you've brought back what we already had. So what's got lost? Where have we got lost in it? And I get that horrible thing called COVID created a few dramas. And I get in any business that you have two options, you consolidate or you expand. And yep, fair enough, we had to consolidate during COVID. I get that 100%. But isn't it time we hit the glass half full and go button again? Because I'm as frustrated as anyone, and I think any serious racer is at, okay, it's time to get wound up again. You've just mentioned 20 great sprint car drivers. Go over to Perth and have a look. Go up to Queensland now and have a look what Rhino's doing. Isn't it time a national body hit the go button and said our glass needs to be half full now? I'm flabbergasted at it. And I get they've got their own issues at the moment. I don't think it's any secret that Speedway Australia's got their own issues, but someone has to take the reins and get this show back on the road. And I know World Series costs a lot of money. I'm not nothing against that, but there's a lot of people with a lot of money in the sport now, and it's probably time to go around some investors and say, let's get this going again. And one of my proudest moments in Speedway was the other night when I know he was 10 beers in and half sideways, but James McFadden came over and said, well done. That to me from him was just awesome.
Stoked.
But, is James the guy to get hold of, I hate to say it, not World Series, but the other one, and run it around Australia? I don't know what it is, but if someone doesn't, someone will. So it should be the powers that we pay to do it. Let's get them on board and give them the opportunity. But I'll tell you now, if they don't, someone will, whether it be me, you, or someone else, will put something together and take it around the country. So not saying it's a warning to them, but get off your ass and make it happen, or we will. And there's plenty of us with enough passion still to make it happen.
I get asked it a lot, Tim. Is this the start of it? Like, is Speedweek the start of World Series coming back? And it's not the intention, but I wouldn't be disappointed if it was the catalyst, because all we can do is control what we can control right now and present it in the way we are. And Frank Scarterfield just made a good point on the page here as well. He just good luck to both the Speedweeks and all the Speedweeks. And he's right. There doesn't need to be a comparison with the high limit event in Perth. That's mega for our sport. Mega. And the Motorplex has absolutely been the benchmark for sprint car racing in this country in the last 2 or 3 years in particular. we don't need to compare Speed Week and the Perth Speed Week. We need everybody to succeed. So we're not racing against people 4 hours away. It's on the other side of the country. It was, oh, why are you racing against each other? It's like, hang on, everyone needs to succeed and do what they do well. And hopefully we all lift the sport. So what Toowoomba does up in Queensland, what Sydney is doing over Christmas, New Year, what Perth is doing, what we're doing, let's just get together.
Yeah, we're racing for the sport over Christmas and to get it to the demographic of people that are on holidays and got time and money to go. And I compare it to, we'll say supercars. They got 28 cars on the grid. They can't have 2 or 3 races in one weekend because they only got 28 cars.
Yep.
AFL footy that's got 16 teams, 18 teams, they can have 10. We're no different. We've got 300 odd competitors over a weekend.
Yeah.
We can be at 5 venues and still have full fields.
Correct.
So let us do it. Let us rip it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So are you ready? Are you organised? I mean, you've got a win up your sleeve now coming into this. Is everything in the truck the way it should be? The plan is, all that stuff?
Well, I actually flew home a day. Like, I had to fly home on the Sunday night because I had to get back down the West Coast for pays and stuff like that. And Tim stayed an extra day just to tie up a few loose ends and make sure everything. So he hasn't got the final ticket of approval from me yet till I get back there on Boxing Day, just to make sure he's done everything correctly.
The boss has got to sign it off.
Yeah, right.
So
I mean, you both have families. You both have families that have different interests, but still support you in both what you do. So you got 2 different worlds that somehow meet in the middle with your similar passion. But how do you make that work? You've got incredibly supportive families on both sides of your lives.
Yeah, I'm the most privileged man in the world in that everyone in my family is competitive in their own sports. So Brock's obviously into his motorbikes, and the 2 girls are into their horses, and they get what I do and why I do it, and they get the competitive side of it. So at times it's hard on the family, and it's times apart, but there's a lot of hugs and cuddles, and we get what we're doing. And my winter is basically spent at motocross tracks watching dirt bikes for the kid. And Brock gets it. My daughter Jazz, she's the most competitive horse rider you'll probably ever see.
Gets that from her mum.
Yeah, from her mum. So to her, she understands that to compete in anything that's, and I keep saying it, above your comfort level, and you want to go and achieve something that seems out of reach, that you've got to do that. And so that's, as I say, very privileged that they let us do it. They also keep saying every year, must be nearly time. So every time I say I'm going to retire, I get that little this year or next year or whatever. But, we talk about windows of life and why I can still pass medicals and pass eye tests and keep fit enough to do it, then why not? Yeah.
Whereas,
Donna, what about your bunch? How does this all work for you?
Well, my husband obviously worked away a lot of years in the mining industry, so we used to that time apart, and obviously I work away down the West Coast, so like I stay down there during the week. So like over Speedway season, I think in 6 weeks I had like 5 nights in my own bed at what I call my home. I class it like I've got 3 homes: the West Coast, Melbourne, and Latrobe. I think my husband's pretty happy with it. I think I probably cramp his style when I'm at home now. He's got his own little routine, and I'll probably interrupt his scotch drinking. And I heard him pass comment to Dion Appleby once. Do you know anyone in America still? And Dion's like, oh, what do you mean? And Macca, that's my husband, he's like, oh, I'm hoping to get Donna a gig in the off season. She's home too much.
Wow. There's another great name, the Appleby name. There's another great captain. I love that we can do this. I always think about, Chaz back in the day when those great sedan deals up at Liverpool, and when Latrobe was asphalt back in the day. A lot of people don't remember those days as well. And I think Cease Hendricks and Chaz and Peter Aylett and all those incredible, badasses that raced back in the day as well. Tassie's a mint spot. I can't wait to have you guys over when you get onto the big island or the little island, whichever way you want to put that. And I'm so grateful for you both for supporting Brandt Sprintcar Speedweek like you are. I'm excited to have you part of it. I'm excited about what we're doing this year. I can feel a real impetus and an energy in what we're doing with Speedweek, and we're going to kick some ass. So I can't wait to have you part of it. You're allowed to win a round if you want, all right?
Oh, we'd love to, especially for like GBE and for Clint at Compass Powder Coating and Metalworks, Mick, Warrnambool Locksmiths, and obviously Emma at EB Graphics. You know, we'd love to win around for them. That'd be great. I reckon then he'd retire, you know.
Yeah, I would do.
Well, don't be doing that. Whoa. That's not why I said that.
I'm trying to get Lindsay to go.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Pressure's on there.
Have a wonderful Christmas. I can't wait to see you guys on Thursday. It's going to be a little bit hot at various times. I just want everyone to be kind to our officials, to track officials, to teams. It's a high-pressure environment. Please be careful on the road. That's one of the real biggies. Please be careful on the road. And I can't wait to see you guys. Thanks for all you do. You rock, you two. Just want to
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Yep. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Woohoo! Brand new era, baby.